Hey everybody, I'm Ryan Little, and you're listening to the Filmmaking Friends podcast, episode number 15. Today we're hanging out with full-time filmmaker, actor, and good friend, Mr. Adam Gregory. Not only is he a great actor, but he's also a great film director. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to have him on the podcast today, is I wanted to talk to him about how he brings those two worlds together into what he calls a perfect marriage. All right, here we are with Mr. Gregory. You're in the house. And when I say you're in the house, I mean my house on my giant couch, just laying back.
That's right.
It's nice, right?
Big Mama's house.
It kind of is.
Big Rai Rai's house.
I want to ask you the question that I ask everybody when they first come on the podcast, and that is, was there a defining moment that you decided you wanted to work in film for a career?
No, it was definitely gradual, and I like to explain to people that it's something that just fell in my lap. It was an opportunity that I felt that if I were to pass it up, I'd be kind of an idiot. But I did start doing it when I was young. I was about 5 or 6 when I started doing drama with my brothers. My mom put us into the class because I was just very hyper and enthusiastic about life, and we like to make movies in the summer, and so that was definitely something that we were interested in.
Your own movies?
Yeah, our own.
What would you shoot them on?
My brother had like a little VHS camcorder, and we would do visual effects in camera. I remember.
Nice.
Do you know the movie Galaxy Quest with Tim Allen?
Oh yeah, I love that.
We made that movie.
You remade it?
We made it first.
Oh, you made it first.
And I remember watching it in the theaters, and I was like, it's even got all the aliens that we had, and we teleported and all these different. It was great. So we, filmmaking 101, and we didn't even know it.
Yeah. So you're making movies, and then you said your mom put us
in drama class after school.
Yeah.
I guess it was a church friend of hers that ran the class, and it was fun. We did the Christmas Carol was the first thing that we did.
And what did you play in that? Yeah.
Bob Cratchit and my brother was Ebenezer Scrooge, and so we would run lines together at night. And I remember just being really good at remembering my lines, and I remember my brother just kind of struggling, to like remember his lines, and I would have to like help him with things, and I think my mom saw that, but we never really did much with it because I played sports my whole life. I loved playing baseball. I thought I was gonna be a baseball player, and then I got into high school. It was actually in 8th grade. I had no friends, but I made a friend who happened to be in the drama club and doing music, and he convinced me to audition for the 8th grade musical. And so we did Into the Woods.
Yeah.
And I still wasn't interested, but I was just kind of there to be there to do something. But I remember making a conscious choice to do that instead of wrestling, because I was a wrestler too. And I went into my high school thinking like, I really like these people. I like the creative outlet that sports really doesn't provide. And so I started doing more musical theater. And then as my senior year came about, I started doing it professionally, doing South Pacific, Les Mis, Honk, and ended up catching the eye of a manager that was from Los Angeles that was visiting Kentucky.
Are you still in high school when you meet the manager, or after high school?
It was right after my senior year.
Oh, okay.
So it was the summer after my senior year going into college. I did a semester at Northern Kentucky University.
Right.
I did one show there. And then I made the choice to move out to Los Angeles through this manager who had set me up at Buckwald Talent Group.
Yeah, sure. Good agency.
Yeah, it was a great agency. So it was one of those. It was just something that she presented me with an opportunity. It was just all these like opportunities that came about, through my friends saying, "Hey, you should do the musical," and the music teacher be like, "Yeah, you'd be great in it," and so I did that, and then started just doing leads, and then I got opportunities to do theater professionally and make money doing it. I was just doing it for fun. Who would have thought? So making money as a high school kid, just playing pretend, like you say, like playing pretend to
we get paid to play pretend, right?
Yeah, that was amazing. And so the thought of making money to do that on a bigger scale, a national scale, a worldwide scale, it sounded really cool, and so I decided to move to Los Angeles and pursue.
So you come out to Los Angeles, probably like a lot of actors and film directors and DPs and all that. You network.
I didn't network at all.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
But you were auditioning, right?
That was kind of like the lure. I remember this woman who was managing me, she just had all this stuff like ready to go. And that's how she got me to move out there. Right. And so I moved out, and 4 months I was on a Disney show.
Was that,
which is irregular.
Hannah Montana? What is that?
That was Wizards of Waverly Place.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a utility player on that show.
Okay.
So it was just like student council president, captain of the baseball team, underwear model, just kind of like this other.
Because they need one of those on Waverly Place.
This guy that you just the guy that you just love to hate.
So okay, so you do Waverly Place, and then does that get you Hannah Montana because it's a Disney kind of related group? Or
no.
Where do you go next? What's the next gig after that?
Yeah, that was 17 again. Was like my major feature film.
Yeah, and you're playing
Zac Efron's bully.
Yeah, on the team.
Dom, yeah.
Dom, that's it.
Dom.
Yeah.
And that
give him a stink eye. That's what you do.
Yeah, and I give some wedgies, which is
that's right before they take the team picture.
Before they take the picture, yeah.
And I just want to say real quick as a side note, I had seen 17 again, obviously before we worked together.
Mm-hmm.
Then I didn't watch it for many years. We worked together.
Right.
Totally did not make the connection.
It blanked you, yeah.
Then randomly I'm watching it recently, within the last few years, and I'm like, hey, there's Adam. He's in this movie. Now, okay, so you've done television, you've done movies, and this is another thing I like talking to you about because you've done a little bit of everything. Bold and the Beautiful, right?
Oh yeah.
You do that for a few years, right?
3 years, yeah. So they do contracts on soap operas, and we do it by years, and so I had a 3-year contract.
Are you like on working every day, or are you kind of like you come in for a couple of days a week and then we don't see you for a few episodes or whatever, and you show up again? How was your character? It was
a heavy character.
Yeah.
Because I took over for somebody, which in and of itself was hard because fans grow to love somebody no matter what, and it was a heavy character. He was the son of the lead, and he was the next heir to the so-called throne. So there's a lot of expectations there. And so when I came in, I kind of just took the character and did what I wanted. I tried to go as far away from what this other guy did. And so that has its good things and it has its bad things. Some people react negatively to it and other people are super positive, and it's just like a fresh start, right?
Yeah.
But working on a soap, it's actually a great schedule. Even though I was so heavy, it was a great schedule. We didn't work Mondays, and we didn't work Saturdays or Sundays. So 3 days off a week. But Tuesday through Friday, we did 2 shows a day. So luckily, it's only 30-minute episodes. And so it's only an hour a day that we're shooting, but it's still like 150 pages.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane the amount of memorization.
Yeah,
you guys
and there's
do.
times that we'll have like TCs or like tentative cuts. They'll warn us ahead of time.
Yeah,
we're gonna be cutting stuff. But then what people don't know is that they'll just throw scenes at us, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or like we'll have like I think it's like every hour we have to take a 5-minute break, right? That's like standard. And so sometimes I would be learning scenes over this 5-minute break, huge like 2-page monologues over. They would give me like an extra 10 minutes.
Right.
Like, okay, like 15 minutes. Adam, here's a monologue out on a veranda with Brooke. Can you memorize it? And what do you say? Yeah, don't fire me.
Yeah, you just.
And so you just do it, right?
Do it, right?
Yeah. So like I got really good at memorizing things. And that was like, they wouldn't do that right off the bat. But there are some stories about the guy who played my grandfather, John McCook. Wonderful man. I learned so much from him, but he says that there was characters that were brought on as regulars and the actors just couldn't handle it, and they would leave their first day crying and quit because it's too much.
Yeah.
For some people it's just too much.
Crazy.
But like learning lines so quickly just became inherent, and I was already pretty good at it because when you're hustling in Los Angeles, sometimes you'll have 5 auditions a day, and so that ends up being multiple pages, sometimes 20 pages a day that you're different characters, different casting directors, different networks that you're having to kind of please for. And so you're just learning different tools. But once you get on a soap, it's a whole other set of tools that you're learning that I think if you were to dissect those specific tools and you take that into another realm of the industry, it's invaluable.
Well, just memorizing the dialogue. I mean, that actually segues into when we meet.
Oh, yeah.
So you get to work on some great shows that pay really well, and you're like, hey, this is good. I'm making good money. I can make a good career out of this. And then enters Ryan Little.
Yeah, the infamous Ryan Little.
Let's throw this all on its head. When you do independent, small budget films, I've done, all of my films have been smaller budgets. None of them have been huge studio films. But, when you do a movie, say, for a few $100,000 or $1 million or a few $1 million, it's all low budget, but you feel the difference between a $3 million movie and a $300,000 movie. I mean,
the stress level.
And it's funny because usually on the higher budget stuff, it's more stressful.
Yeah.
You would think it would be the reverse.
Yeah.
But when we made The Void, I can't remember a time when anyone was very stressed about anything. We just made it work. We just had fun.
Yeah. There were some times that Adam Abel was a little stressed.
Well, yeah, because he's watching watching the money.
Yeah.
He's watching the money.
But, it's like when you take the stress and the egos out of it, and it goes back to, like I was saying earlier, it felt like me and my brothers out in our backyard making movies because you fall in love with it again, You
do.
And not that it was ever on that level. We had full on Panzer tanks and guns, and there's a lot of risk involved, but still, like, having this inherent childhood, it was just fun.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun project.
But I think it plays well, The imagination took us somewhere that, when we're rubbing charcoal on our faces.
Yes.
Because we wanted to.
Yeah. So, one of the things I learned as I continued to do the war films is sometimes, people would say, hey, they should be dirtier. And so every movie, you'll notice the progression of my actors being dirtier and dirtier as time goes on. So by The Void, we're like, okay, these guys have to be dirty.
Yeah.
And our budget was so small that our makeup person wasn't there for everything. I know that sounds crazy.
I didn't think that was a budget thing. I thought Tara had another obligation.
Maybe. I can't remember now. But definitely there were times where it was like you guys would just literally take charcoal and rub it on your face. From local campfires. From a local campfire and rub it on your face. I know there are actors out there listening to this podcast that are like going, oh, I would never do this. This is not how movies are made.
But if you don't have an actor that's willing to do that,
you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
But I knew that I had cast the right people because I knew that everyone was going to have fun. They were good actors, and it was okay to do that.
Right.
Now I want to come to the part where kind of the reason I want to talk to you is because your fascination because a lot of times, most actors talk to me about the script and things like that, which they should, because it's a big part of their job and it's important. But you always would talk about like, oh, so like, what lens are you using? Or, have you ever used this software for editing? Or have you ever thought about using this piece of equipment and stuff? And I started realizing that you're an actor who's also a filmmaker, and you've made other films and things as a producer, as a director on your own. So my question to you is, coming and kind of working your way as an actor, how does that help you be a better filmmaker?
Yeah, well, I think it's important for all actors to learn what it takes to be a filmmaker, because it really it serves you as an actor to understand what lens you're being shot on, right? You're tight, you're wide, you're medium. Distortion on a lens is important. You want to know if you're being center framed on a wide angle lens, because there's some times in the Hellcat you would be on a 16 or a 24.
Sometimes we would, just because we were in a real tank.
And and it was super tight. There was no room in there, and so I knew
that's just the lens that had to go up.
Yeah, and the fact that I knew that you were on a wide angle lens, I knew that some of my gestures can't be toward toward camera, or else it looks really funny. Weird. Or some things can just look funny. Yeah. And I didn't want to mess up any takes because I didn't want to do it again. Yeah. But understanding what you're going through and what the whole crew is going through, and understanding the hard bounce of a beadboard, and knowing where your light is and how to turn to the light so that your DP is not mad at you for turning away from the light and you have to relight everything. And it definitely serves you as an actor to understand these things. But I think it's not like a crossover into filmmaking. It's a marriage. If you're in love with the craft, you should be in love with the whole craft. And I kind of revisited that love that I had as a kid making movies with my brothers, because I loved, and even the stuff that I do make, I told you a little bit about that no one will ever see, but it's a sci-fi action thriller, you know, and so I have people teleporting, there's muzzle flashes, there's things that deal with editing and compositing and VFX that I think it's almost like magic. I think that's where movie magic to me comes alive. I grew up on action films. I love watching action films with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and being able to recreate that at a prosumer level is super fascinating to me. And whether anybody sees it or not, I love it and I enjoy it. And I mean, it leads to other projects, and you know, I can do brand work for companies and things like that. And I love directing those things and finding ways to make that interesting visually, and also taking, I like to pride the fact that I can take like a dentist and make them appealing. Very, like, you could go to the bar and have drinks with this dentist, which, I mean, if you're familiar with, most dentists aren't very energetic or enthusiastic, and so being able to coach somebody into a different role, a different identity that's already within them, right? You know, because that's what acting is, and that's what you do as a director, and what I would do as a director is you kind of like coax this person into realizing this person that's already inside them. You know, every character that you play, and I think that's kind of like where people get very method, you know, like the Nicolas Cages and played Batman. I don't know why I'm blanking on that. Christian Bale. They go super method, you know, but it's already like, it's somebody that's already within them that they're just kind of like pulling out and using character study and character background to put these layers on top of something that's already within them. And everyone has different parts of their human nature. And that just really helps make a well-rounded character, and having that thought process that goes into a character goes just as deep with the director. So when I have conversations with my director, I know how to communicate in every level because I cherry pick different methods.
Yeah, you know what's interesting to that point is a lot of times in the industry we'll talk about different kinds of directors, ones that are visual, ones that are an actor's director. And a lot of times the actor's director, not always, but a lot of times those are actors turned directors because they understand the actors because they used to be one. Right. They know how to talk to actors, or maybe they're coming from being a being a director of plays, or a playwright, or a screenwriter or something. Their whole thought process is all about the creativity, which actors really love because that's what they need. That's what they need from their director. But as I'm listening to you talk, it's also beneficial for an actor to try to find ways to understand how a director thinks, how a producer thinks.
100%.
I'm not even thinking about that. I've never thought about that before. I've always thought that it was the duty of the director to learn, maybe take an acting class, learn ways to understand actors better.
It's both.
But I think it actually should be both.
Right.
I think actors should go out of their way to say, hey, listen, you know, what kind of experience can I have so that I know how better to communicate with a director, that I understand what the producers and the ADs and all these people, what's their perspective, what's their, you know, how are they seeing what we're doing, and what's going through their head, because that can only help you.
You take that stuff deeper, you know, and it's not just the director. You're talking with light, you know, and how would you shape light for a certain type of character, right? Yeah. And I don't know how many times I've gone in for like a wardrobe fitting, and they ask me if I like something, and I'm like, well, you're the professional here, you know, but they're also taking into account colors, and colors affect, you know, that's subconscious with us humans. We see red, and that can either mean passion or anger, you know, and you have all these different colors that can be associated with a character. And somehow in that pre-production process, it's upon me as an actor to decide whether my character is wearing a certain sweater or a certain jacket. And if I say no to it, you know, so it's like there's a lot of things you can do as an actor that can help your fellow crew members tell a story better, deeper layers and depth within these even sub stories. So understanding all these different layers within filmmaking and understanding your part within it is going to make a very cohesive, collaborative filmmaking process.
Yeah.
And that's when, storytelling really comes alive.
Well, I appreciate your time. This has been awesome to talk about, seeing through the perspective of an actor, the filmmakers in the sense of, the directors and all that, and how you bridge those two worlds. A marriage, as you call it.
It's a marriage.
Yes, which I'm going to remember that.
Absolutely.
Adam, I appreciate your time. Tell me real quick before we officially go away. You want to say something? I was going to say people need to know where they find you on social media.
Oh yeah, you can see me on Instagram and Twitter at the Adam Gregory. I'm a little confused about what my Facebook handle is. Facebook is a conundrum to me, but I think it's at the AG or at the AG actor. I don't know. If you just type in Adam Gregory, I think you'll find my page. I do bar mitzvahs.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of this podcast. We've got more great guests coming up on future episodes. Thanks, guys.